On May 11, 1894, workers at the Pullman Palace Car Company in Chicago, Illinois, walked out of their workplace and went on strike. The Pullman strike was influenced by the history of Pullman, Illinois, and the events preceding it, and the changes it brought along altered the industrial world.
George M. Pullman established the industrial town of Pullman, Illinois on May 26, 1880. The company town was based off of the success of the Pullman Palace Car Company, a manufacturer of passenger cars for trains. The majority of the residents worked at the factory, rented houses for the company, and purchased food and supplies from company stores.
The cost of living in the town of Pullman was significantly higher than the cost of the surrounding Chicago area. Pullman purchased water for his company town from the city of Chicago for 4 cents for every 1,000 gallons. He charged his residents 10 cents for the same amount of water. Rental fees to live in the Pullman Company town were 20 to 25% higher than rental fees in surrounding areas. During the Panic of 1893, the United States endured a serious economic depression that lasted from 1893 until 1897. The depression caused hundreds of businesses across the country to go bankrupt, especially banks, railroads, and steel mills. This caused the Pullman Palace Car Company to cut the wages of its workers by 25% without making cuts to rental or costs of living. Despite decrease in pay, the cost of living in the company town remained the same, causing the workers to become hostile.
When a delegation of workers formed a grievance committee to present their issues with low wages, poor living conditions, and 16-hour workdays directly to Pullman, he refused to meet with them and soon fired them. The delegation then voted to strike, and Pullman workers walked off the job on May 11, 1894.
Tuesday, it was the first Tuesday in September. What triggered a national Labor Day in 1894 was a rather dramatic strike that took place. The Pullman workers in Chicago went out on strike. The federal government intervened because the Pullman cars, basically, with a boycott of them, stopped the American railway system from operating.
At the time of the strike, 35% of Pullman's workforce was represented by the American Railway Union. The American Railway Union was one of the largest labor unions of its time and one of the first industrial unions in the United States. The union had railroad workers in and around Chicago refuse to operate Pullman cars or on any trains with Pullman cars, resulting in a conflict that seriously disrupted the American railroad service.
Once the switchmen refused to add or remove Pullman cars from trains, the railroads fired them and tried to replace them with non-union workers. This led other union members to walk out, bringing more and more trains to a halt. By June 30th, 125,000 workers on 29 railroads had quit rather than handle Pullman cars.
The strike ended with the intervention of the United States Army on August 3, 1894. On top of refusing to operate Pullman cars, railroads refused to operate mail trains. Pullman informed federal officials that violence was occurring and the mail was not going through after an enraged crowd had derailed a locomotive that was attached to a U.S. mail train. 12,000 federal troops were sent by President Grover Cleveland to ensure the delivery of mail and suppress the strike.
In the end, 30 people died in the chaos. The American Railway Union was disbanded, and Pullman employees henceforth signed a pledge that they would never again unionize. Protests formed, arguing against Cleveland's harsh methods, making the appeasement of the nation's workers a top priority. 6 days after troops had broken the Pullman strike, Cleveland signed a bill officially making Labor Day a national holiday.
So the federal troops were called out to crush the strike. People were killed. It was a terribly violent strike. It was not a happy day for labor. Government, being politicians, wanted labor on their side, and so as a concession, they then passed legislation authorizing a Labor Day, first Monday in September from then on.